said, an excellent trout fisherman is a fantastic salmon fisherman. And this is trout fishing for salmon. We have him in a glassy pool. They're kind of locked up here, but oh, there he was, just behind it. And this is real trout fishing. Can you get the salmon here? You really have to work the fly. If you get him here, you'll have a very, very easy time taking him in the current. These fish are very spooky. So you got to put the fly down very precise. You have to work the fly. You have to be absolutely sure at all times that the fly is, that the line is not scaring the fish. I mean, you know, when you put it down, you got to put it down like it was a dry fly. I happened to come up with a fly just a little while ago. He came sliding just very slow through the water. There, I got it. I got him. This is good salmon fishing. I want him to move up because I don't want him to back out of this pool. If he does that, I can consider him lost. It is so neat to catch salmon like this. I mean, this is the top of trout fishing. With no doubt. Doesn't make much noise. Ah, he's big. He's going upstream. See, he's way up here now. That means I have to leave some pressure on the line. Oh, he's going upstream. There he is. It's going to be a little hard to sneak in. My advantage is here that he doesn't have any current. So even if he put his side towards me, he'll still be coming up. So I just need to sneak him in here. If I can sneak him in here, just get him on his side here, I got him. And I want to keep a distance to him, because if I don't keep a distance to him, he'll be spooked from the side here. He's not ready to give up. I don't have to do much here because he's actually dragging the line under the water now upstreams. And that means he's using a lot of energy here, and I'm not using any. I told you that fish was well rested. This is a deep hole, and he's way out in it now. A second ago, I thought I had him, but he was a little so smart. So he chose to go, so I just let him go, and now he's coming back again. If the fish want to go, you let him go until he's ready to come in. Let's see if we can get him up a little bit. Lift the fish up, just pump him out of the water. See, I just lower the rod when he wants to go. He's a good fighter. But then again, this place he was, you know, he was very well rested. He's been standing there for a while. Just need to turn him on. There we go. There we go. There he is. So when you get him on the side, you got him in. And there's no problem. What a fat fish. Huge fat fish. He's big, isn't he? That's a fish. That's an awesome salmon. Wonderful. Wonderful. In my fourth DVD, the theme is going to be the Scandinavian Spey cast. It's a cast which has been developed here in Scandinavia, particularly in areas like this, where you have the forest all the way out to the water. You cannot do an overhead cast here. You can hardly put a D in behind you. When you put the D behind you, you actually have to have it out over the water. Otherwise, it goes into the forest. Also, in this DVD, we're going to pay a tribute to the classic Scottish Spey cast, which is the father of all modern Spey casting. When I think about the Scandinavian Spey cast, I think about fishing. So this cast is not only adapted to the terrain, but also to where the fish are. The only reason I do a cast is actually to catch a fish, but I want to be able to do it from all kind of positions, and no matter what is around me. These are the things we're going to look into in this DVD.
This part of the river looks deceptively inviting, varying currents in a relatively narrow section. But without a canoe, most fishermen would probably have big problems fishing the stretch. Unless they master the Scandinavian Spey cast. The whole essence of learning the Scandinavian casting style is exactly to be able to fish down along the riverbank in the way that Henrik is doing it in this pool.
And see, if you can't do a Spey cast, this is an impossible place to fish, because I want to stay as far away from the pool as possible, and I don't have much room here. So if I want to do a cast here, I actually do have to do the Spey cast. That's the only way you can actually get the line out here. And I want to get very much across on the river, because I want to increase the speed on the fly. And you cannot do an overhead cast here. You need to do a Spey cast.
See how Henrik constantly works the line, strips it, in order to make the fly as lively as possible.
Oh, gotcha! Wonderful. I haven't seen him yet. There he is. It's like 5 feet or 10 pound. See if you can get that up, so I don't have to go through the pool. Wonderful flake. And I just got the fly on the other bank. When it comes out from the other bank, they don't see the fly entering the pool this way, because the fly gets on the bank and they don't see it, and then suddenly it's there. And that is the best way to present the fly. If the fish rush, you just lower the hand, just lower the rod then, so you kind of leave the pressure on him. Huh. And the best brake you have is absolutely the hand. Okay, so you don't want to turn and twist on your reel to get the brake. The most sensitive brake you have is the hand. And you should use that when you have a fish on. If he wants to go out again, just let him go. Just put the rod at him so he kind of relaxes. There we get him up. And if you keep yourself low in the terrain, you can kind of squeeze him out. Because if you stand up, he sees you, and he doesn't like that. You just need to get him in and tip him over here. There we go. Almost. Just twist him one more time. There we go. Now he's landed. There we go. Ha. That is what they call the grills in Cascapedia. Nice grills as well. That's a cockfish. And he's off. Beautiful fish. Beautiful fresh fish. Nice. We'll just let him go again. See the back of them? They're so thick. Here you go.
In his book Flycast, the Scandinavian Style, and his first DVD, The Perfect Cast, Henrik elaborates on the Scandinavian Spey cast and instructs readers and viewers in how to build it up from the bottom. But a difficult thing can never be repeated too many times. This is why Henrik once again demonstrates some of the elements that need to be mastered if you want to learn the casting technique.
In the Scandinavian Spey cast, I use a very small rotation, and I try to keep this as close to the body as possible. I kind of use the expression, hug the rod, because in this way you'll keep the rotation way in here. And if you have the rotation in here very close to your body, you'll have a very high line speed. And you hardly move yourself, you hardly move the rod. But if I want to increase this speed, I don't do it by stretching out my arms. I actually do it by using my body. Let me show you how that is done. If I had to throw this stone and only used my arm, I would be able to send this stone quite far. But if I really wanted to cast it even further, I had to use the body, and I would pull my body back, my arm back, and then generate a lot more power and throwing the stones way further out. In all sports, it's very important to use the body if you want to generate power. If you're a golf player, the body is actually the one that makes a swing. If you're a boxer and you want to do this deadly punch called the left hook, you go in and then pull it up with the body like this and hitting it. The same thing you can actually use in fly fishing, not the left hook though, where you can generate a lot of power into your cast by actually moving the body back and forth. Let me show you how. By taking one step forward, I can actually use the body to generate power now. I still keep the small rotation though, but I put my body weight back on my left foot. By having it on my left foot, when I've done my backward cast and I'm ready to go forward, then before I start the rotation, I actually just pull the body weight from my left foot back to my right foot. And in this way here, I actually put a lot of tightness into the rod. I actually load it quite deeper. And I have not even started the rotation yet. And in this way here, you can use the rod much more, and you can generate much more power. The same thing also happens when you're using a single hand rod. You also have a small rotation going back and forth. Let me show you that. If I'm doing a short cast with a single hand rod, I place my right foot in front of me, and I have a very small rotation here, just casting straight forward. And this way here, I have a lot of precision on my cast, and I do a very small rotation. But if I want to do like a longer cast, I want to keep the same rotation here, but I want to transport that back and forth. I do that by taking my right foot backwards and having my left foot in front of me. So when you want to do the longer cast, of course you use the left hand to do the double haul, because that can add energy. But you can also add some energy by transferring your body weight from your left back to your right. What you want to keep the small rotation here. You don't want to stretch your arm back and forth like this, because that will actually create a big loop and will not really create any tension to the rod. But by keeping it in here and just having the small rotation here, but taking that back and forth by transporting the body back and forth, you see you get much more tension into the rod and you'll be able to send the line far out.
Henrik prefers to use a double-handed rod and tube fly. Modern double-handed rods don't weigh very much, they're easy to cast, and it's much easier to fish the fly and fight a salmon with a double-handed rod. If Henrik uses a single-handed rod, it's most likely when he's hitching or fishing with a dry fly. Here, for instance, he's trying for 2 salmon, which didn't show the slightest interest in his tube fly. Unfortunately, they have no interest in his dry fly either.
One of the significant differences in the traditional Spey cast and the Scandinavian Spey cast is the way you handle the rod. In the traditional Spey cast, you kind of move the rod with your right hand. You kind of push it forward. And by pushing it forward, you actually transport the rod forward. You also open up the loop. In the Scandinavian Spey cast, you kind of use the power from the left hand instead. So that means when you go back here, you don't push the right hand forward. You actually pull with the left hand instead. You can also say by hooking the rod in here, you have a much smaller movement. So what I do in the Scandinavian Spey cast is like pulling it back here and then just using the left hand going forward. I have a very small movement and I generate a lot of power, hardly using any energy. Let me explain you why. Imagine this is my rod now. I would like to generate a high speed on the top of the rod because that also determines the speed of the line coming out. The best part of the rod is the lower part because this is a thick part and this is where all the power is. If we look at the way they move the traditional Spey cast, they use it with the right hand. They kind of push the rod back and forth. And that means you have to work very hard with the right hand here to really increase the speed on the top of the rod. Also by doing this movement here, you actually move the best part of the rod, which is this one down here. You move that back and forth. You're not really using it. The Scandinavian way is different. We kind of use the left hand to cast with instead. You could say like we use 70% on the left hand and 30% on the upper hand. The upper hand is still active, but most of the rotation is done far down on the rod. And by having the rotation far down on the rod, you can, by small efforts here, do a very high speed. And also the thing is, you use the bottom part of the rod now to cast with, which is much more powerful than the top of the rod. Casting with a single hand rod, you want to bring your left foot in front of you, having the right foot back, because then you can rotate the body back and forth, bring the rotation back and forth. But casting with a double hand rod, this is not an option, because if your feet is placed like this, and you want to bring the line back to a D in a Spey cast, that means actually you're going to bring the line back and into the forest, which is, of course, is not good. Why does this happen? Well, if your feet is placed like this, then you can take your body like this. You see, then you can swing the body all the way around. And this is why you bring the line into the forest. You need to have one foot in front of the other one to make the rotation back and forth. So if you take the right foot in front of you here, when you're on this side of the river, that means you can only swing your body to here. Then it locks. So that means when you do your lift, you actually lift the line up and bring it out over the water. And then you lock the body here, and then you can cast. You can see, then I have the direction I want here to do my forward cast. This is very important to place, like when you're on this side of the river, having the right foot in front of you. When you're on the other side of the river, then it's mirror turn, then you have the left foot in front of you. When you set yourself up for the cast on this side of the river, then you need to have the right foot placed according to where you want to cast. So that means if I pick a line up from here and I want to cast there, then I put my right foot in the direction I want to cast, because then I can transport the body back and forth like this. Let me show this to you. So if I want to cast across here, I put my right foot towards my target. Put my left foot back, because in this way here, I can move the body back and forth. So when I pick up the line, I twist my body downstream, picking up the line. And when I go back here, I take the body back to my left foot. And when I go forward, I take it forward over the right foot, also taking the rotation that way. This way here, I can transport the rotation back and forth. So you pick up like this, go back, put the line there, and go forward again, and shooting it out.
Before we began filming, Henrik had never before fished in any of the rivers featured in this DVD. This means that he's particularly dependent on his ability to read the water and decode its messages when he chooses where and how he's going to fish. To the experienced eye, the surface reveals the location of stones and holes on the bottom. This is where the salmon just might be.
This pool is new to me, and looking at the pool, you see it has an inside curve and an outside. And I prefer actually to fish the inside, because I believe the fish will be on the inside. My experience tells me that the salmon will be on the inside of the curve. And that is because you'll have the deep part there. All the gravel normally gets pushed over to the outside of the curve. So that means on the inside of the curve, you will have more calm water, you will have deeper water. It's a much better place for the salmon. So I'll pass the river here and try to fish from the other side. What I achieve with that is actually with a very long cast, I can get the fly close to the bank on the other side. That means the fish will not see the fly entering the pool. Another thing is when the fly comes out of the current and on the inside of this curve, you can get the fly to hang a bit before you start stripping it. And many times that's where the salmon will take. So I'll pass the river here and see if we're lucky. Gotcha. He was actually placed exactly where he should be, just next to the current, on this side here. Ah, there he goes. He's a little tough. You have enough fish down the whole pool, yes. I want to be not too, if I can get him up here, that would be the best actually. She was just before, like, you know, when the current evens out, they have like a nice place to stay, and they love that. Not quite finished it, yes. But yes, again, this is early in the fight. You gotta take it easy then when you have a fish on. Enjoy it. It can be very hard to achieve many times. So when you have it, don't rush it. You see the strong benefits about me having him here, because he's on the weak water. There's not really any current that can help him, because I'm taking him in this way here. If I had him on the other side, it would have been totally different. See, when you're going to land the fish, keep some line between you and the fish. And kind of point the rod at him. Because, you know, if I can point the rod at him, you always have the possibility to go out. Because I can lower the rod immediately. And I don't really use the rod to fight him with. Here we go. There we go. There we go. Come up here and I'll release you. Come back here. Come back here. And then at the end of the fight, you can be a little crazy with them. In this way, you know, I get him in here, and he's done. And I got him. He is mine. And still fresh. There we go. Nice and beautiful fish. That's like what they call the grills. You know, I would say like 12, 14 pound, something like that. Beautiful fish though, fresh and silver. Straight from the ocean. So I never fished down the whole pool here, and I got him all the way up in the, well, you sort of say in the middle of the pool. And I'll try to finish this pool, because there might be a fish further down. And I have a chance for that fish, due to I didn't bring the previous fish down there. I did have a good chance in this pool, but now it is destroyed. I mean, having a canoe coming right through it here on shallow water, you can forget all about it. Huh.
The Scottish Highlands. Hardly any landscape contains so much history and so many stories about legendary battles and heroism, and has been the scene of so many great novels and movies as these mountains and this highland. More than a millennium of clan rivalry, freedom movements and rebellion against the English add a very special atmosphere to this breathtaking landscape. Not far from here, the mythical Loch Ness Monster lives side by side with the world's finest whiskey distilleries and some of the world's most famous salmon rivers. It's here, on the east side of the Scottish Highlands, in the famed rivers Spey, Tay, Tweed and Dee, that modern salmon fly fishing began about 2 centuries ago. It started as a sport exclusively reserved for the wealthy landowners around the rivers and their equally wealthy specially invited guests.
Okay, yeah. So short fishing hours.
Yeah.
Although much has changed since then, the rivers are still surrounded by certain exclusiveness.
When do the first people start coming here, actually? I was just thinking about, like,
Quite comfortably, each good pool has its own cabin, and each cabin has logs and a wood-burning stove. Similar to everywhere else, the salmon in the Scottish rivers was an endangered species until 15 or 20 years ago. This was primarily due to overfishing with nets and from pollution. But growing environmental awareness has changed many things. Now even the otter has returned to the River Dee. Since the 1990s, developments have been positive. Net fishing has stopped, the pollution has been halted, and the salmon stocks have advanced.
Welcome to Scotland. As you can see, we are still early in the season. It's still snowing here. We're in March, but the reason why we're here is because the season starts the 15th of February. Scotland has a very long tradition for salmon fishing with fly rods. And one thing they're also very famous for is the Spey cast. The Spey cast originated here, and we have invited Mike Donald to show us the details regarding the Spey cast.
Now what we're going to do now is just go through the single Spey. And we always want to start with the line in the fished out position, which is parallel to the bank. Always remember that if the river is coming off your right shoulder, then you should be doing a single Spey off your right hand with the right hand uppermost. And if you just look, the first thing you do is just lift the tip of the rod up to put some tension on the line. So we'll just go back, I'll roll it back downstream. Now what we have to do now is lift the line and the fly up about a rod and a half length up behind us and slightly out in front. So lift up the tension, sweep the fly up and see where it lands. That's where you're aiming for. If the fly lands down below you, then stop. It's very dangerous, the risk of the fly coming up and into your face. So this time I'm going to put it all together in the fished out position, lift up, sweep upstream, set the fly and launch it. Now the energy for that is by stopping the rod high, aimed at the trees on the other bank. And notice that the energy comes from the top and the bottom hand. It's not a single-handed cast, two hands, and the split is roughly 60% on the top hand and 40% on the bottom hand. So it's a push and pull. So lifting up, sweep upstream and launch it.
Mike Donald is a man of many talents. Retired soldier and police officer, passionate bagpiper and fly fisherman. On top of that, he's a casting instructor and guide, or gillie as they're called here in Scotland, at the River Dee.
So we're now going to have a look at the double Spey cast. And again, this is on the wrong shoulder, if you like, with the left hand uppermost. Normally, you would be fishing that if you're on the other bank. But there are occasions when you need to do that when you're on this bank. And one of the occasions would be if you've got a strong downstream wind. It's very important not to attempt this with an upstream wind. So we're going to break it down into all the little component parts again. I'm just going to roll the line downstream. The first thing to do again is just lift it up to put some tension on it. From there we need to sweep the fly and set it down below us by crossing your hands. And see, look down there and you'll see where the fly is sitting. That's very important. If it comes too close to you or upstream of you, just abort the cast. Put the tension on the line, cross your hands, set the fly in the right place, sweep down and round and launch it. So in the fished out position, lift up, put some tension on the line, cross your hands, set the fly in the right position, unwind, form a nice big loop and tap it across the stream. What could be more simpler than that?
The Spey cast is named after the River Spey, which is a neighbour to the Dee. The situation at the two rivers is very similar, but it was at the banks of Spey fly fishermen developed a casting technique in the 19th century, and this technique is still being used.
Well, it actually originated on the River Spey, north from here, and it goes back about 200 years. Little is actually known about who was actually responsible for it, but there's little doubt that when they were fishing they couldn't get enough, ground area behind them to get an overhead cast, so they had to develop a cast which took into account the fact that you had a high bank or trees very close to the river, and that's where it was developed from. And I suspect that it was local anglers who said, well, we're going to have to be inventive here because otherwise we're not going to be able to cover the water. And of course they used full lines in those days, something which was really, really handy for them. And of course It's very economical because you're just lifting the line up from the water, sweeping it and casting it. There's no false casting or anything like that required in it.
Before the Spey cast, the overhand cast was basically the only option until the roll cast was invented.
The roll cast was the first cast of all the Spey casts. And the roll cast was invented in an area where you had high banks behind you or trees, like it is in this case here, and you didn't have the opportunity to put the line behind you. You couldn't do an overhead cast, you could say. And therefore they invented the roll cast. The roll cast was worked the way that you put the line behind you, this way here. So you had a D behind you, and when the D was there, you just punched it forward. And in this way you can put the line back out again. Some of the problems there was with the roll cast was that you actually had to cast the line or the fly back to where it actually was picked up. Because you can see, if I pick the line up from here, then there's no point in casting it back to where it came from. I wanted actually to cast this across so I could get it to sweep over the current. So when I had it in this position here, I wanted to cast over, it had to cross itself. And that was not good. That was actually not an option. Therefore they invented the Spey cast. And the Spey cast worked in a different way, because there they put the line and the leader behind them. And in this way here, they could actually go across on the current and put the line out.
Back to Scotland again. You see, the country has another much sought-after speciality to offer. The fresh-run springer, which is the first salmon of the season, migrating into the rivers already in February. A less sought-after speciality is the kelt, a salmon which has spawned but still remains in the river in the late winter and early spring. At first glance, it can deceive most fishermen, even though it's stayed in the river for 6 months or more and still has a silvery appearance.
Very long kilt. I mean, it's very easy to see the difference between a kilt and a springer. I mean, a springer doesn't look like this, they're much deeper. But apparently there's only kilt here to us. Got the hook out. I just want to let him go again. And please come back next spring. You'll be in a good fat shape then.
Three months, 30 degrees centigrade, and 3,000 miles from the Scottish Highlands. You might think you're in a pretty French village at the Bay of Biscay, with a village cafe along the high street, an old church, and a memorial to those who fell in the First World War. To complete the picture of rural French idyll, the tricolore is flown above the roofs, but a small yellow mark on the flag reveals that it's not the genuine tricolore. We're in Canada, or more precisely, in the easternmost part of the French-speaking province of Quebec. The touch of France dates all the way back to 1534, when the first Frenchmen arrived in this part of North America. The North American bald-headed eagle was once close to extinction. Now it's hovering again without disturbance above the Grand Cascapedia River and the two neighboring rivers, Petite Cascapedia and Bonaventure, on the south side of the Gaspé Peninsula in the province of Quebec. The three rivers are all situated within a 50-kilometer radius. Each of them has its own unique character. Bonaventure, furthest to the east, is the world's most clear-watered river, with underwater visibility of up to 70 meters. For beaver and otter, the place is a land of milk and honey, plenty of food, and no pollution. Deer and elk are thriving grandly too. The train arrives from Montreal to the town of Bonaventure 3 times a week. And 3 times a week, it stops again when it returns from the town of Gaspé on its way back to Montreal. The railway was built back then precisely to give access to the incredible salmon fishing of the Gaspé Peninsula. The railway was to provide a regular connection for the wealthy American anglers to the focus of their dreams. Some 40 kilometers further west is Petite Cascapedia. The unique feature of this river is its permanent coolness. Even in the hot summers of Canada, when the neighboring rivers quickly warm up, the water always stays several degrees cooler in Petite Cascapedia. And on a rainy day like this, conditions are similar to those in a Scandinavian river. "10 kilometers further to the west of Petite Cascapedia is the last river in the triangle, the Grand Cascapedia. The salmon stock in this river is simply North America's largest Atlantic salmon at an average weight of just below 8 kilos. It's 150 years since the Grand Cascapedia became known as the river with the largest salmon. By the mid-19th century, pollution and overfishing had basically wiped out the salmon in the northeastern rivers of the United States. The rich anglers of New York were looking for new salmon rivers, and they cast their eyes on the Grand Cascapedia River. But the costly salmon water was already taken by Canada's British viceroys. Among them Queen Victoria's own daughter, Princess Louise, who was married to one of the viceroys. Her picture and a great number of the giant salmon that were caught in Grand Cascapedia over the past 140 years are exhibited at a museum at the river. Several of them weighed more than 50 pounds. They're still available at the same size, but an average salmon weighing 8 kilos isn't to be sneered at either.
There we got him. Beautiful fat fish. Awesome fish. Look how deep he is. It's a fresh codfish, just came up. I'm here at the Bonaventure River now, and I'm on a pool which is absolutely new to me. I've never been here before, but I mean this pool is similar to many of the pools I've fished around the world. It's a long pool. I don't know where the fish is located in it, so I have to figure that out. But a good thing is to divide the pool into 3 different units. So I say like I fish the lower part first, the middle section, and then the upper section. In this way, if I get a fish in the lower part, of course it doesn't run up, so I don't disturb it. But if I fish the upper part first, and I got a fish there, and it run down, then I would disturb the whole pool. So I always start with the lower section first, and then gradually work my way up. Regarding flies, lines, it's low water and it's warm, and it's not good conditions for salmon fishing. But I've decided that I'll fish anyway, and I'll start with a light line, let's say like a floating line, fish on top of the surface, small flies, work down with that first, and then gradually work my way down to the bottom and see if I can find a fish. The rod I'm going to use is 12-foot 7/8. I prefer the double hand rod here. It's a large part of the river, and I've decided on a very light intermediate tip. I think it'll be a good option here. And the fly I'm going to use is a small black fly with a gold body. I think those flies are very good on this type of weather here. You don't want to use too big of a fly to start with. Use a small fly high in the water, and then use a larger fly in the end. This river I'll try to avoid too much spey casting actually. I'll actually do an overhead cast when I have a chance to it. And for the reason I'm doing that is actually to avoid to do too much splash on the surface. It doesn't matter if it doesn't splash much, this kind of cast spey casting. But still, you know, an overhead cast definitely splash less. So if you have the option, you know, use it, particularly on clear water like this. And when you move in the water, move very careful. You can be out here, but you definitely have to move very slow in it. As long as I'm moving away so the fish don't feel I'm here, you know, you don't want to splash and walk or run in the water. Just move very slow in it. And they wouldn't notice you. You could say move like a heron, because they can go close to the fish and the fish won't feel them. before it's too late. And remember to let the fly swing all the way around, because the fish might follow it in. So don't take it up before you're absolutely sure that there's no fish following it. But also, as proven before in my previous films, I mean, stripping is very good. And stripping is always done when a fly is just almost on the dangle, and you start stripping. I don't know much about this piece of the water. I just know it's a long pool and the fish can be anywhere. But what I really want to do is I want to keep an eye on if something shows here, because if something shows here, I want to note exactly where it shows. I don't want to run back up to that spot if it's behind me. I just want to keep a mark on it so I know where it is. So I know where the fish showed and where he might be when I get up there. Another important thing is when you fish on a river like this, is always keep moving. Don't stand and hammer the fly down to the same spot. Even if you know there's a fish there, always keep moving down, because you can always come back. But if you start like hammering the fly down the same spot, that fish won't take. It works the same way as with a needle. Try to put a nail into a wall. The more you hammer it, the further it gets in, the harder it is to get out. Same thing with the salmon. The more you hammer it with a fly, the harder it is to get out. And that's the reason why I move all the time while I'm fishing. Because there might be a chance to get the fish out later with another fly or another technique. And also this river being the clearest in the world, they see the fly from far distance. So you really, if there is a taker there, he will take the fly. He won't just leave it and wait till it gets really close to him. He will actually swim to get it. And it is the taker I'm looking for. I'm not looking for the fish that's been here for a while, because he probably won't take anything. Anyway, what a beautiful place to be. I mean, that's what's fishing about. At least it is for me. Not because I'm hungry, it's because I just enjoy being here. And the excitement of catching a fish. In this case, catching a salmon.
It's not only early in the day, it's also early in the season. This beautiful morning yielded no catch. Henrik has moved on to the next river. Similar to Bonaventure, Petite Cascapedia has only been open for fishing for 2 days. So far, only 1 salmon's been taken in the whole river. So once again, you can see how important it is to have a new strategy for each new challenge.
I've looked at this pool several times today, but it has been full of sun. And when it's full of sun, you know, it can be very hard to get the salmon to take. So I've decided to try now when the sun has come down a little bit and you don't have any sun in the pool. I think that'll definitely optimize my chances. So let's see what happens. Many times it's very good right here where 2 currents comes together. He was standing right in the middle of the current, and he seems like he's an okay fish. He's not the biggest I've caught though, but we just have to see what he wants to do now. Oh, I'm just getting a little bit pissed there. I was dropping back. He doesn't like to be lifted up, and then they get mad. He still has a lot of power though. I'm still trying to muscle him a little bit. Oh, he's nice. He's much better than I thought. And I'm not very light on him. You don't want to be light on them when you're going to release him again. I just need him to tip here. There he goes. Nice fish. Very nice fish. He's done. There we go. What a nice fish he is. What a beautiful fish. And this is a total fresh fish. Nice and heavy. Look at the back of him. See, he's like as thick as my leg. Beautiful fish. Awesome fish. Heavy. Heavy fish. Wonderful. This is what it's about. And you need to muscle these fish, otherwise you're never going to get them in. What a beautiful fish. We need to get him out again, unfortunately. But you see, this is a good spot because I can still keep him alive here. Got water running into his gills. I need to find the hook though. And he's hooked there. Turn him around a little. See if I can get a hook. There we go. The hook's out. Now we need to get him out, and I probably need to support him a little bit. There we go. And don't let go of the fish before you're absolutely sure. And I was hard on him. I really muscled this guy. I don't want to be easy on them. Particularly not when you're playing the game, catch and release. Bye-bye.
As we saw at the beginning of this DVD, there are situations where long casts are necessary. There might also be situations where it's an advantage to cast with a long line.
When you're fishing a net like this, you try to place yourself high so you have like a very weak angle on the spot you're fishing. So this way you get the fly to go deeper and much slower. And you have a strong current here, so if I cast it very much across on the spot I wanted to fish, the fly will come way too fast. But fishing it from here and just extending the line all the time, I can get a fly to come over very slow and give the fish a chance to take the fly. So when you have strong currents, it definitely benefits to have a longer line.
Normally, Henrik prefers to fish with a short line. This way, he has more control of the fly and can fish it more efficiently. And after all, that's what it's all about. In this situation, he needs to cast with a short line because the salmon's only a very few meters away from him. And even though it's a nearly hopeless position to cast from, it must be done from here. From the opposite bank, Henrik can't present the fly in the right way.
Gotta get the fly down a little deeper. That's very hard on a short line. Get it down deep. Try one more time. Strip it a little bit. Yeah, got him. Nice. Now I gotta get out of this spot here, which is gonna be like a hassle. That was a nice fish. A good Lord planted a forest here. Not the best place for a salmon fisherman. That was really nice. Yeah, he's a heavy fish. Well, he's worth all the climbing for sure. But I got a good position for him now, though, because I can lift him up here. And he's fighting his turn to get the current to get down. Sometimes you have to stand in weird positions to get the fish. But I promise you, it's worth it, the little effort. And this is where the Scandinavian Spey cast really comes in and pays its full benefits. Being able to fish from all kinds of positions, anywhere. And present the fly exactly that what you can't reach with a normal cast. I gotta get this guy to fall down so he doesn't reach those branches. Because they like branches when they're hooked. There he comes back. Come on, boy. I want you back here. There's more flat water. Thought so. Ha! See, that's the one I'm going to tell stories about. He was at least 20, well, I think 40 pounds.
As Henrik demonstrates over and over again, it's about changing tactics if your fishing fortune fails. Change your fly and make the fly go more slowly or quickly in the water. It could be just those small changes that make the salmon rise.
First I fished with a small fly. Now it changed over. I've taken a little larger fly on. The first fly I fished very slow over the pool. This one I want to speed up a little bit so it comes fast over the pool. Still come high in the water though. In this pool here you want to keep yourself low to start with. And actually do that on all pools you arrive to. When I want to fish this one here, I want to start with a very short line and just putting that out first and trying to control that. With the shorter line, of course I fish very close to myself, and that's also why I keep myself down. And you know, sitting down here, then I could use the circle cast, just taking the rod around and then putting the line out. It all comes out to, let's say, one of the versions of the Scandinavian Spey cast. I call it the triple C on this side and the double C on the other side. By having the long rod hook here, I also have the advantage of like taking the fly around the rocks and controlling it here. Because you can see there's quite a lot of rocks in the water. And of course I don't want to get tangled into those. So you just start with a short line and just working the fly around. Then I'll just gradually extend 2 feet at a time, so I cover all the spots in the river. So I'm sure that there's no fish hiding here before I even start moving. So I kind of start up with the circle C cast first, and then when I get over and get more line out, I'll go to the traditional Spey cast, just doing it with my right hand below and my left hand above, due to I'm on the right side on the river, facing it downstream. Yeah, gotcha. So he was standing in the bottom of the pool, this guy. The other thing is to get him out, but he's not even close to being tired, this guy. So the larger fly did the trick, yeah, no doubt. He's just gonna keep on at it, you know, until you find out what actually does it. So what I'm doing, I'm just going slightly behind him now. I don't want to go far behind him. I want to stand just next to him and just lifting him up, because our strongest current is in the top of the surface and he wants to get down, of course. If I go too far up, I'm fighting the current. If I go too far down, I'll probably drag the fly out. But this way here, he gets tired. We're getting down to the more slack water, which is better. We got a lot of woods in the water here. I don't like that. I kind of need to hold it up high, the rod here, so we don't get tangled into that. I'm going to put a little more pressure on him here, because otherwise he gets down to it. Then I'd rather lose him without tying him up to a piece of wood. See if we can get him up a little bit. Again. I got him in the slack water. That's much better. He's a hard fighter. No doubt about that. Oh, not under the wood. Not under the wood, baby. Come on back. See if I can get him back under the wood again. Without tangling, yeah, there we go. That's kind of a challenge once in a while. There we go. I got him. I got him. Beautiful fish. Awesome fish. He kind of tangles himself into a line. There you go. Gotta get the hook out. There we go. Okay, easy billow. Easy body. Beautiful fish. Awesome. Let's get him out again. Beautiful, big, fat. Look at the back of him. Size, huh? Nice. There you go. He's ready already. And that's because I fighted him pretty hard. If I played around with him too long in this warm water, he will die. But if you're pretty quick at it, you know, they'll still have a lot of strength when you let them out.
Here at the River Dee, inventive fly fishermen too have contributed to the development of modern salmon fly fishing. With its architecture and chimneys, the small town of Banchory on the Dee appears to be the essence of everything British. Apparently, not much has changed since the 1920s and 30s, when a certain Arthur H.E. Wood was roaming the banks of the Dee. Or rather, when he roamed the Canton beat. During those years, Arthur Wood caught a record number of salmon, as many as 3,540. Only 50 of those were not caught at Canton, and the vast majority of those he caught at Canton were taken in a single pool, the Grey Mare. Well done by a man who didn't like to wade, who only began to fish far into the spring, and who nearly only fished with a 12-foot single-handed rod. At that time, it was normal to fish salmon in Scotland with a 22-foot double-handed rod, something that rod cases at several of the Dee's famous pools bear witness to. The secret behind Arthur Wood's overwhelming success can be seen at the Rolls here at a small museum outside Banchory. Fishing lines then consisted of silk lines, and Arthur Wood made history by greasing the lines to make them float, hence the expression greased lines. They were the forerunner of the floating line. They're suitable for fishing in reasonably lukewarm water, not for conditions such as those Henrik's fishing under in the middle of March with lots of snow occasionally falling.
Even if the floating line was actually developed here at the Dee, they fish with sink tip lines today. I mean, this time of the year you want to get the fly down a little bit, so you use like a sink tip line, you use super fast sinking leaders, and maybe small flies, small brass tube flies. That's a good combination, because you want to bring the fly a little closer to the fish, also because these conditions are, the water is very cold. I mean, we measured it this morning and it was actually 0, and the air is -2. So you really need to get very close to the fish, almost tickle him on the nose to get him to take the fly. And you couldn't do that with a floating line. So sink tip is absolutely the best option when you're having your spring fishing. We're on a stretch of water here. The water is about 8 degrees and the current is pretty hard. I want to get the fly down to the fish here. If I was fishing with a floating line, I would not be able to get the fly close to the fish. When the temperature is cold and the current is very strong, it's good to use a sinking line. So I'm going to use a sink 3-4 here and a super fast sinking leader, aluminum tube. So let's see if we can get anything. When you're fishing a hard current like this, it's good to cast a little downstream and trying to feed a little line, because this way also you get the fly down deeper. And you can keep the fly coming more steady over the stir current. And that's also the only reason why I'm in the water. Because if I was casting for land here, the cast would be too long. Not that I could cast that, but I would never be able to fish the fly. So what I'm trying to here is trying to cast across. I'm bringing myself out to the middle of the river first. Then I'm trying to cast across and downstream and feed some line afterwards. Because in this way here I can get the fly to come over very slow and on the bottom. If I was standing on land and I was casting across here, the fly would come over very fast due to the current. But by bringing myself out here in the middle, I can keep more line off the water, I can cast a little downstream, and in that way I can keep much more line off the water and get the fly to come over very slow. The good thing is also when you fish a deep, strong current like this one here, is that if you can feed some line after you've done your casts, because in this way you also bring in the sinking line further down. So what I'm doing is, I cast this line across first, and when it hits the water, I feed the line afterwards, because that brings the fly down. Now it'll be down, and I keep the rod up, so in this way the fly comes over very slow and very close to the bottom. More attractive to the fish. Yeah, on a sinking line. Perfect. This is a very heavy fish. A lot of hard work to fish sinking lines. But when the water is cold, it definitely pays off. Get him in the pond here. Just want to get this guy's nose up here somewhere. There it is. Nice fish. Nice fish. A little shadow here in front of him. If you just can tip over here. There we go. We got him. There we got him. Actually, I should sit her. Because this is a girl. Look how deep she is on the back. Beautiful fresh fish. This is not an old one. Awesome. That's good. Looks like a good spot, huh? We're almost at the top at Grand Cascapedia. This is about 80 kilometers from the sea, and we are in a piece of the river where you can only access the river by canoe. There's no roads, there's no trails, and there's no way you can get through this forest here. The river up here is quite low now for this time of the year. However, the fresh fish, they go straight up here and they stay in these pools here. So we're just checking out a few pools and see if we can find some of those. It's always exciting to go to pools where actually none have fished for a long time. And there's so many pools up here, so you have to be kind of picky. And this one is, even if it's low, it still has like a few holding points in it. We'll try to check those out, see what happens. Small fly, big fish. I just had one boiling after the fly, and what I do now, I just back up and then I give it like 10 seconds, 15 seconds before I start a new cast. I want the fish to settle down again. And when he has settled down, then I want to cast the fly out. So it's a good thing just to wait, keep your breath down, and just be excited the next cast. I'm just kind of like one drift around this time, do nothing. Just let it drift. Just wait till it comes all around the swing, then I'm going to start retrieving it. Now retrieve. Oh, he boiled again. See, we know exactly where he is now. Now we just need to get him to take. Now the next one is going to be speed up. Slow one more time. And flag them down a little bit, holding the top of the rod down. So just have like a gentle shake. Yeah, gotcha. I knew I'd get you. I knew I would get you. This little rest, you know, gives you enough time, you know. They just need to settle down, and when they settle down, then they're ready for the next turn. If you pump too hard on them, you know, many times you'll lose them then, and they won't be interested. I want to get around the corner with this gun here, because otherwise I won't get him out of the pool. This is a small fly, though. I just hope it has a good grip in him. There. Oh, nice fish. That's a silver one. He's gonna drag me down, though. So I can't put too much pressure on with the small fly. I'll just try to take it easy, see what he wants to do. It's a 20-pound fish, at least 20 pound. There he is. Gotta find a place to land this guy. I want to keep him on this side of the rock, because on the other side, if you go downstream, I notice there's some pieces of wood that's been drifted down. I don't want to get into that. So I probably have to squeeze him a little bit here, there, just to keep him up. Nice fish. He's big. He is a big fish. He's behind that rock now. Okay, let's go around the rock. this way though. Okay, we go that way. It's good he got off. I can get him in here. Just need to get him into the shallow water here, then he'll come all around. There we go. There we go. There we go. What a nice fish. What a nice fish. Wow. Isn't that something? Huh? Isn't that something? That's a fish. I need to get the fly out. It's all the way in his tongues. I need to get his head up a little bit. So I can get it. That was. See? Absolutely nothing. I mean, flies like this, you know, takes big fish many times. Beautiful fish. Heavy guy. I need to let him go out again. Let him get down here. Awesome fish. I just have to support him until he actually, her, it's a lady. And these are good for the rivers. This is actually the fish you should release. Beautiful fish. She came for the fly twice. Well, there she goes. That means she's ready.
Henrik Mortensen will be your instructor and fishing guide for the duration of this film. We'll be traveling widely from simple, basic casting exercises for both single and double-handed rods to some of the world's best salmon rivers in Iceland.
Beautiful fish. What can you say, huh? Amazing, isn't it? Salmon fishing when it's best.
He's often been called one of the world's best fly casters and salmon fishermen. Henrik has a simple yet effective fishing philosophy. Rule number 1 is that your cast is not perfect until you're able to present the fly to the fish in the right way.
Oh!
The first point is to let the rod do the work while you use as little effort as possible. If you use your rod correctly, it will do the work. The less effort you put into each cast, the more hours you can fish. Pay attention to the hand grip and see how easily a large 14-foot rod can send off the fly in one long cast and a single coordinated movement. Raising the line is generally a neglected movement in the cast. Raising is the first movement. This is where you begin your cast.
Yeah, we got him. Line just on top of the neck.
In the forward cast, it becomes evident if your front stop is too late. That gives a large and open loop with lots of air resistance and little fall time, so avoid that.
Everything gets much more nice, much more smooth when you use the body at the same time. And you can angle the line out suddenly. There. Now we're going to try another technique. We tried the hits and it seems like it doesn't work today, so What we want to do now, we want to try the Francis technique. This is a fly you cast upstream and get down, and then you actually raise the fly right in the face of the fish. And it is like this. Either he takes the fly or he leaves the spot. It is in a way like raiding the pool, but it is efficient. And this is the last one I try always. You know, if I've been to a pool and tried everything else, then I want to try this one because I've had a lot of success with it. This fly's coming up. Now he's coming. He's coming. He's coming. He's got it. What we have to do now is keep the fish in the pool and get him tired there, and then we got about 1 chance or 2 chances to land him, and that's it. Because this is a long stretch, and if he gets down in the hard water there, it's over. Oh, maybe once again. And there he got it. Oh, he's really moving now. Moving big time. Oh, gee. What a jump. So the point is here, learn the basics and you'll be able to do so many things with this cast. So you can just play with it in the air, you can do anything, just matter that the leader is the one that's going to be on the surface. As long as the leader's on the surface, when you go forward, you'll have the tension on the rod and you'll be able to cast anywhere. And you can put in as many circles as you like, actually. Look at this one, for example. 2 circles, leader back in the water and out. Do it one more time. 2 circles, leader in the water and out. You can do whatever you like. Life is so much more fun as a salmon angler when you control all those casts. Always said an excellent trout fisherman is a fantastic salmon fisherman. There, I got it. I got him. That's an awesome salmon. In my 4th DVD, the theme is going to be the Scandinavian Spey cast.
The whole essence of learning the Scandinavian casting style is exactly to be able to fish down along the riverbank in the way that Henrik is doing it in this pool.
Oh, gotcha! And in this way here, I actually put a lot of tightness into the rod. I actually loaded quite deeper. The Spey cast worked in a different way because there they put the line and the leader behind them. And in this way here, they could actually go across on the current and put the line out. My experience tells me that the salmon will be on the inside of the curve. And that's because you have the deep part there. The Scandinavian way is different. We kind of use the left hand to cast with instead.
Back to Scotland again.
So we're now going to have a look at the double Spey cast. And again, this is on the wrong shoulder, if you like.
You can generate a lot of power into your cast by actually moving the body back and forth. I don't know where the fish is located in it, so I have to figure that out. There we go. And you have a strong current here, so if I cast it very much across on the spot I wanted to fish, the fly will come way too fast. The first fly I fished very slow over the pool. This one I want to speed up a little bit so it comes fast over the pool. Oh, not under the wood. Not under the wood, baby. Come on back. I've decided on a very light intermediate tip. There. Oh, nice fish.
What could be more simpler than that?
Beautiful fish. This, my 3rd DVD, is going to contain fishing strategy. It's going to contain how to fish a hitch, and I'm going to go really deep into it. There it goes. Easy. And you can do that when you stay away from the bank. You can actually take men like this. Here I'm bending downstream a little bit. That's because I want the fly to sink. When you use a hitch fly, you actually have the leader coming in the side of the tube. And this way you actually drag the tube on top of the water. Got him. What I'll do first is fish the lower part here, from the stone and down, so I don't ruin this part up there. Oh! Oh! twice, 3 times. So what you don't want to do up here is actually show your fins. Your fins is the hands. Then you have the more average size here, which is the one you can use more all-rounded. You can use it on calm water, you can use it into more turbulent water. When you go to a pool like this, I always start with the first option as a hitch fly. That's the first option I do. And then I move on with 2 other options afterwards, which I'll explain to you later. Ah, he got it. Yeah. Nice take. Oh, got it. One of the lifts I did was taking it towards my left shoulder, punching it out, pulling it back, putting the leader down, and then shooting across. This way you can have a lot of loops hanging inside each other. This way you have 2 loops hanging down. Yeah, got him. I'm gonna use a nymph for this one, very small nymph. Oh, beautiful jump. Here we have a very big pool, which is very good for dry fly fishing. We have a calm service. It's always very exciting to fish at night. Because you know the strike comes just like a lightning. Got it. Even small flies give big fish. Yeah, got it. Worked. You can actually just move the whole concept of casting over to your left side. Oh, you got it. You don't have to fight the wind. The wind is actually helping you here. Go around, put the rod vertical, and put it out like this. This way, the loop comes straight out. This is an 18-pounder fish. Really deep, really heavy.